JALANDHAR, Secretary, DAV College Managing Committee. The chief guest of today's program, Mr. Jagat Shah, the brand ambassador of Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji's Make in India program, which is very close to his heart. My colleague and friend, Dr. Zuhani Nemenin, professor from University of Applied Sciences in Finland. My colleague, Dr. A.K. Paul, Honorable Vice Chancellor, DAV University, Jalandhar. My senior principals of DAV College Managing Committee, Principal M.L. Eriji, Principal Dr. Rekha Kalia Bhardwaj ji, His Excellency Ambassador Deepak Vohra ji, Dr. B.B. Sharma ji, Dr. Ajay Sareen, Shri Kundalal ji Agarwal, Shri S.P. Malhotra ji, Mr. S.Z. Khan, who is one of the elite panelists today and is representing Indian Railways, other colleagues from industry, delegates and faculty members who are here to participate in this tour.
Indians to serve your employment needs. So here the answer is that we have to reskill them. That's what we're talking about. Make in India and reinventing skilling India. Instead of skilling them in institutions, Mr. Munjal feels it is better to skill them on the job in his own factory. Mr. Shah may not agree with that, but that seems to be one area that needs to be looked at. Do we give them on-the-job training, skill them right where they're working, give them employment before skills, or give them employment after they develop the skills? Madam, over to you.
It's a privilege to be with such an august gathering, and trust me, I'm really at a loss of words and terribly nervous to be talking with people with such acute acumen and language skills. Seriously, that's a bit frightening, more than anything else. I'm not talking about no personal insinuations, but the fact really remains that it's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to be debating the issues of skilling. I, in fact, don't have any critical points that I brought along because I was told I was going to be asked questions and I would answer like a wise owl, which isn't really going to happen, which may happen later on. But I have one or two issues to raise, particularly since I'm a small town person, I belong to Jalandhar, and I belong to the MSME. And MSME really is the critical mass of manufacturing in this country. And how good or bad we're going to be as manufacturers or producers and how we vision the future for this country really depends on how we empower the MSME to function. And how much focus are we truly giving this area? What are the pain points? Are we connecting with this in part of the industry, solving their problems, hand-holding them to be the smart, Skill India, Stand Up India, Digital India? I mean, those are all wow terms. They sound very nice, trust me. As an MSME person, I like them. As a traveler, I feel the difference of how Indians are viewed worldwide, which gives me a hell of a kick. I was on an airport in England, one of the small towns, and I saw Digital India videos being played, like slides. And I said, gosh, that's India. And that was awesome, trust me, thank you, you did it. And I said, gosh, that's me, that's India. And that, you know, the kind of comment that is going out to say that we have it all to compete is wonderful. But grassroots, is it reaching the MSME? Do we really understand what is the true knowledge that an MSME has? Do we understand his aptitude to be able to take him forward? That is critical. And I think there is a de-link. You've created this fabulous plethora of ideas, I think, as you rightly said, on the top, the change is happening. But what is the impetus and the push to bring it bottom up? That is something that we don't see at all. We read these statistics. I also read them up before I came to this place because I said I must sound a little bit wise. But those have all been read out. So I don't really need to read out the demographics and how wise we are and how young we are and how wonderful it all is. But one statistic really made a connect with my thought process, and I thought I should read it. It said that, you know, in growing economies, you grow from agriculture to manufacturing and to services. And in India, we started on the process. 50% of our working population is in the agri sector, and the GDP is only 17% in that sector. Manufacturing, GDP is 24%, and 23% is the part of the population involved in this. We suddenly jumped to the services sector, where the population involvement is much smaller, but the GDP contribution is 50%. And economists seem to say, there are a lot of wise economists here, they may agree or disagree, but I seem to agree that the neglect in the manufacturing and the agri really is the main cause of our mass poverty and our unemployment. And here again I come back to our MSME. Now, what is it that we need? There are two things that I just want to point out. One is to really understand the psyche, the understanding, the intelligence, and the capabilities of MSME before you load us with your really wise comment. There are policies in place. Does the MSME know of them? No. When we take some of your ideas and your proposals and your policies and your money-making skills to them, they look at you as though you're talking Greek and Chinese. So is that helping them? Truly, no. Secondly, everybody has now come to the conclusion there is a global slowdown. We are suffering. All of us are losing business at the rate of 20 to 50%. And that's an actual fact in Punjab. Now, what do we need to do? We need to cost cut, simple, and we need to have smarter people and smarter technologies. Is that really happening? Are we really making ourselves capable for smarter technologies? Is our workforce really becoming geared up to work on those smarter technologies? And what is the simplified system to be able to do both? Can somebody make a simple paper and go to an MSME guy and say, okay, you are in the engineering or whatever sector. This is how we need to empower you as the owner of a company. And this is the policy that the country is coming up with to help you to get good labor. Mr. Munjal, he and I work on the CII skilling panel. The disconnect between organizations like DAVIET and the industry are huge. And we have been pushing, pulling, doing everything in the book. The people who come out of schools and colleges, and it's no mention to this organization, I'm talking about broad spectrum, is that they are completely unable to empower us to be technology savvy. And I'm an industrialist, and I'm saying so. An industrialist needs people who are capable who come and tell him, hey, this is your shop floor, why don't you change 5 things and become better? I met up with the chairman of Maruti and he asked me a very valid question. He said, excuse me, what do you do? Oh, I do the following, I'm from the engineering industry. You're from the MSME? Okay, what's your target to becoming big? Now, if you ask this question to the MSME today, how many of you are going to scale up and get into large? Trust me, you're going to get a terrible reply. So I'm going to end here. These are just a few comments I wanted to make, my pain points, and during the course of our debate, I'm sure some more things will come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe have appreciation from here. Can't find jobs. You can cancel our lunch if you want. But thank you very much, Dr. Manoj. Thank you, ma'am. This is true, and may I now request you, Professor Yohani, in your own country, in Finland, and in Europe that you are familiar with, are the universities able to produce enough skilled people to meet the requirements of your industry? Because we just started skilling India. The figure was 2.5 or 3% or whatever it is. South Korea says it's 98%. Don't believe these figures. All governments manufacture figures. I didn't say that, did I? All right. But in reality, do you have enough people who from the university go straight into industry?
Yes, we do and we don't. Thank you, first of all, Madam. It was an excellent speech and partly again covered what I was going to say also. We have, and it's thanks to the fact that we are a small country, a very small country. We have been able to, at the universities, negotiate with the companies around us. Like in Lahti, for example, it's a town of about 120,000 people. We have clusters of various industries, like mechatronics, for example, where we have 250 companies. All our students do quite a lot of their studies at these companies, solving practical problems together with the people working there, contributing by, exactly as you said, by finding, for example, in the processes, facts that can be changed quite easily, because they are fresh eyes. People who are clever and have been working for the company for ages often can't see the things that they are doing wrong because they've been doing it so long time. At the same time, our students learn very much indeed, because often they make propositions that are good in the short term, but as they can't see the whole process well enough, this would be catastrophical for the manufacturing as a whole. So they also learn that not every proposition is good. But I would say that in the average, maybe 25 to 30% of all the suggestions that the students and our staff who are always with them at the companies make lead to solutions that make production better, make everything easier. Another thing which I'd like to mention for you, and which is very important and has come up here in many points already, you don't have the proper secondary level vocational education here, and that is what you should have. We have that for both young people who after that can go to universities and continue, but we also have that for old people who are already working or have been working maybe 20 to 30 years. We have so-called adult vocational training centers where they can come for shorter or longer time and learn special parts of plumber's job or maybe electrician's job, or full programs also for plumbers, electricians, barbers, bakers, whoever. And now to the service sector, my final comment. I've seen at hotels here, for example, that you have a lot of people in their fine uniforms and they can't do their baking jobs properly, they can't do anything properly. You will need training for these people already. Also, maybe it's half a year, maybe it's 1 year, maybe it's 2 years, but that's a huge area where you could develop also lots of employment and better skilled people who go and work abroad if they can't find jobs in India. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yanni, for that very perceptive comment that you made about the interaction between your universities and industry. You rightly mentioned that you're a small country, and I'm prompted to ask a question. Which hotel do you live in, all of you in Finland? No, with the number of people that you have. We'll get Mr. Jagat Shah right in the end, but here is a question for you, Principal Saab, Dr. Manoj Kumar. The comment was made here about universities feeding directly into the employment requirements of the DAV Institute of Engineering and Technology. If you have 4 years, could the third year not be spent in Mr. Munjal's organization? Could the students not go there? Instead of an apprenticeship after completing his Bachelor of Technology degree or Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering or whatever, could he not spend the third year in an industry? And then
we have one full semester training at the end of the program. Like it's a 8 semesters program. 7 semesters are for the routine teaching curriculum, and 1 semester is the training program. And most of our students are absorbed by the industry for the training period itself. Like I give one example. Wipro Technologies, they recruit 150 students from this campus every year. So they give 6 months training to the students in that 8th semester on a stipend of 18,000 rupees to every student. So our students have been getting stipends during that training period itself close to 18 to 25,000.
Professor Manoj Kumar, my question was slightly different. Instead of your students going in the 7th semester or the 8th semester, send them in the 3rd semester, so that they come back and tell your professors, you are not teaching us what the industry wants.
Yeah, again, at the end of the 4th semester, we have 6 weeks industrial training where the student goes to the industry, comes back.
Fair enough. Thank you very much.
Every 5 years or 6 years. The tragedy is that the faculty is completely de-energized where it comes to the realities of industry. So if the faculty itself is not proactive to industry, industry needs, changes, what it needs, what the shop floor is all about, what can it communicate to its students, and how hard would they push them for their internships? And that really is a big disconnect.
Thank you very much for this comment that you made. That one question to ask you before you start. I was recently speaking to the head of a paramilitary force in India, and he said that for every constable, which is the lowest rung in the hierarchy, that they advertise for a job, for every constable, the lowest level, that they advertise a vacancy, he says they get 11,000 applications. 11,000 applications, and some of them are postgraduates. Is that true? Does that sound real?
It's absolutely true. Rather, it's underestimated. It's more than that. I have recruited constables for 10 years, and in a district we will have to face with 10 to 15,000 crowd in a day who are ready to run.
How do we solve
This is the solution. That if we open up new avenues for them, if we train them while teaching them, if we make doing diploma, doing ITI courses and not BA and MA more fashionable, then they won't come and run and be in queue for being constable.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll come back to you in a moment. Professor Yohani, do Finnish parents, European parents, feel that the child is no good if he doesn't do a postgraduate degree in physics and goes off to become a plumber or an electrician?
Not anymore. It used to be that way, and I was rather surprised to hear that you had exactly the same situation as I did. My parents were ordinary working people, but they wanted me to get an academic degree, and I got sort of fond of getting academic degrees. I've got several now. But at the moment, actually, the best paid jobs in Finland, for example, are such as plumbers or electricians who have become entrepreneurs themselves. They have been able to create really good jobs for themselves. They work hard, but they also are very well paid. And there's always lack of those good plumbers, for example, lack of good electricians, lack of good carpenters, anything on the practical side. But you have to be good, and that is why you have to have good basic training, which we give at vocational schools. And nowadays, many parents appreciate that very much already, which is nice, because they understand that that's where the fortune and the future lies. We can't expect to employ for the government and for the universities and for municipalities people as we did in the old days, because there aren't enough taxpayers otherwise. Therefore, one of the interesting features how we at universities also have answered to this question is that we've integrated teachings of entrepreneurship to all our courses, even to nurses, physiotherapists, everybody. Because many of them even start their own businesses when they graduate. They don't go to the municipal hospitals, they can make more money as entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurship in whatever area you are is very, very important, and you have to encourage people to do that. And the government can do a lot in this particular area.
Mr. Shah, may I? Sorry.
Yeah, like I said, by us, we don't see that difference any longer. Of course, we still have old-fashioned people who expect everybody to be a master of some area. But I think the best choices nowadays could be in the practical field of them.
Thank you. Mr. Shah, may we now come back to you. You are aware of the fact that without proper skills, any country, including ours, faces an employment winter, which will probably be as bad as a nuclear winter that you might look at. The trouble in Greece and Spain against austerity, in Ireland, in Portugal, wherever, was because in the 20 to 40 age group in Spain, at least the figures we know officially, was north of 60% unemployment stroke underemployment. So these guys were out in the streets protesting because the ideas that were used to create the problems that exist today are not the ideas that you can use to solve those problems. There has to be fresh ideas. The ideas that create problems can never be used to solve them. So what are you doing to avert this employment winter? And I'm not talking of 300 years away from today, sir. I'm looking at the next 3, 4, 5 years. We saw the awesome demonstration of youth power in 2011 in Delhi when that young lady unfortunately got violated. A lot of these people were protesting not against what happened, but against the fact that the system had failed them. What are you planning to do about this, sir? Would you care to respond?
Yeah, so while I will come to your point also. I have made some observations while other speakers were speaking, particularly Madam. I'd like to just very quickly, practically tell you what is being done. One example I'll tell you what is happening. I spoke about triple helix of the relationship between government, academia and industry, which the connect between industry and academia is not proper, and that is why industry is not getting people which are skilled. In Gujarat Technology University, GTU, one initiative was launched and it has given amazing results. You will see in their website. What happens when there are challenges like, Madam, you mentioned about small and medium enterprises, and when we go to the government with those issues, there is a situation of confrontation. It's a psychological situation. SMEs say, I am complaining, industry says, oh, okay, you are complaining against me. So there is a conflict. And a lot of personality play and a lot of egos come in. What we tried to experiment, and it worked very well, is number one, we did an event of this type where industry was present and academia was present, and 4 experts were there, one from production, finance, marketing and HR. And a lot of SMEs had come. And 500 students were sitting and 500 teachers or faculty were sitting. And about 150 SMEs were there. And these 4 experts were there. SMEs started telling one by one what are the challenges. And experts were trying to answer that as per their expertise, this is the solution. And wherever it felt that government is coming in picture in terms of getting a solution, points were noted down. Now, in this entire process, what we did is the faculty had to take the responsibility to analyze these issues raised by SMEs in a neutral manner and go to the government for resolution, thereby protecting this conflict situation of SME to government and creating an academia framework where academics would do a neutral analysis and go to the government. In the process, the faculty understood that what are the problems and challenges of SMEs, and that is why later on when they started teaching to the students in the class, they taught in that perspective. The students who were sitting there also started understanding, oh, these are the problems of the SMEs, and I am going to take up a job in one of these SME or a company, and that is why they understood the problems and would then now prepare themselves, not only in the theoretical class where they were sitting, but also in their mental framework that these are the challenges and I need to prepare myself to solve these challenges when I join this company, right? And when then what we did, we used the tool of Digital India. We said all these issues which were raised today will be put into the website of GTU, and it will be mentioned on this date these issues were raised, on this date the faculty completed the analysis, on this date they took it to the government. They took it to Department of Industry, to Department of Education, to Department of Rural Development, or to whomever it was impacted, and an officer was submitted, it was mentioned there submitted on this date, and a commitment taken that by when will you resolve it, and that commitment date was also mentioned, and everybody would have an access to it. So transparency got created and a pressure got created in the system to deliver, because now everything can be seen by anybody, particularly the press. And we also invited the press to be part of this event so that they educate the masses. Today, Mr. Munjal very rightly mentioned that a lot of work is happening but people do not know. Maybe because press is also not, maybe the government is not telling the media also, and media may not be sharing. So this entire stakeholder, I call it the entire stakeholder ecosystem, where the pillars of our democracy are part of the whole system, it worked very well, and you will see so many challenges were resolved. This is one aspect I think we should experiment with our education system. Second, I would like to give you an example of Rafale fighter jet aircraft, the Dassault system of France. They have been given this order for the aircrafts. The CEO of this Rafale came to me for some very interesting analysis, and I was surprised, Dr. Chandan Chatterjee. He said, look, we have been given this business, and we have been told 30% of the component we have to make in India. We need to make in India. We have been given land also in Kutch. Now we have to produce, but I am not going to make. It is the small and medium enterprises which I will create into a vendor park, and they will supply me these components. But for these SMEs, I don't have manpower. Why? Because the government has told me that you have to guarantee the aircraft to us for 15 years. How can I guarantee the aircraft if the components which are being supplied to me by Indian SMEs are not guaranteed by them or are not of the standard and quality specifications as per our international standard? In order to do that, I need engineers who would be qualified to do that, and I am not getting. I need 20,000 engineers. So they have started a program in Ahmedabad, and I motivate that many such event programs can be done. Many such corporates. I'm going to give you one example. What Rafael has done in an engineering school in Ahmedabad, they said in the final year, in the last 2 semesters, we will do a 6 months and a 1 year, 2 courses, which will be taught by the Rafael staff, by the staff of the company, and they will conduct an examination, written, and then an interview, and whoever passes will start with a salary of 50,000 rupees a month. And this is cross-functional, this is it is not like electrical, electronic, mechanical, metallurgy, computer science. It can be from any stream. They say it doesn't matter. And now the first batch of 120 got employed. So like this, today we are talking of 80,000 crore of defense equipment being imported in India. 30% we are talking of 24,000 crore of manufacturing happening. And we are talking of 150,000 engineers getting employed. So this is another solution which we need to more and more put into the system. Third, I would like to mention is innovation as a subject in class 5. Why are we teaching innovation in undergraduate and postgraduate and saying let there be innovation incubation center? We need to start teaching innovation in class 5. It should be 2 chapters there. Class 6, another 4 chapters. And carry on, because innovation is something which should get into the young minds at a very early age. Imagine today's kid who is in class 5 will be 10 years old. Only when that kid, 23-year-old or 25-year-old, comes to the society to contribute economically, that is 15 years from now. So today if we do the seeding of innovation as a subject in class 5, then 15 years from now we will start benefiting. So these type of structural changes we need to bring. And I would like to close my comment by giving you a very practical example. I am in the board of one university in Gujarat. And when I went and sat in a class which was going on, this thermodynamics class was being taught. And I saw every kid in the classroom playing on the mobile phone. And the professor was teaching in the screen, there was a projector, there was a smartboard, everything was there. And nobody was attending. And I was very surprised that what is happening. Later on I investigated and I will tell you this story. And this is the story of our education industry discussion. So I asked some kids what, he said, look, tomorrow was if suppose tomorrow is thermodynamic class, today evening I go to Google, I write thermodynamics, I got 30-40 videos of many teachers around the world which are free. I put my earphone, I listen to it 20, 30, 40 minutes. They are showing 3D, they are taking me to the factory, they are explaining me, and I understood thermodynamics. Now next day morning I went to the class. And my teacher started teaching me from the book in a theoretical way. In 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes I realized that what he is teaching is not, I already understood it better. And that is why I stopped paying attention. And what would I do in a class? I am going to the class because 80% compulsory attendance is required for me to give the examination. So I play on the phone. When I talk to the teacher says, no, mobile phone should be banned in the class. Right? The problem is that the kids are only attentive on the mobile phone. So what I told the teacher, why don't you start the class through the thermodynamics video, which can be downloaded from YouTube, and then do a Q&A or an explanation. So he said something very interesting to me. He said, look, you are right, but the examination will be taken on the book which has been recommended by AIC. And if I explain to them and they even understand it, they will not pass the exam. So I need to teach this also. So these are the kind of challenges we are facing, but we need to find innovative solutions.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. It's obvious that teachers have to become mentors and guides rather than content deliverers. Mr. Munjalna, we're running out of time, so very brief comments, final comments from the entire panel.
Something like this. They were teaching in the class, BBA class, that when you raise an invoice, first you charge VAT and then you charge excise. Now, one of my friend's son who goes to the factory after the class, he says, Madam, first you charge excise and then you charge VAT. She says, no, it's written in the book like that. He says, I am making invoices every day. You call any CA or call anybody and check. when he told me this thing, I was stunned. I asked him, what will you write in the exam? First charge exercise or first charge VAT? If you write VAT, this author has written, if there is somebody who actually knows that first exercise is charged, he will say wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Manjal. As an Indian consumer, I prefer you charge neither VAT nor excise. Mr. Khan, your concluding comments.
In fact, I had a presentation, but because of paucity of time, I would love to conclude my observations. Firstly, the disconnect between university and the industry. It is partially correct, I must submit. I have been to Nirma Institute of Management, which has now become Nirma University, when I was assistant professor in a seminar. And there, 10 years, 15 years back, they shared with me that Nirma is the institute which doesn't design its own syllabi. It actually goes to industry, takes their requirement, then designs the syllabus and teaches. The result is that nobody is unemployed. There is gap in the demand and supply, but it is on the reverse side. Secondly, I want to attract the attention of the panelists and the august gathering here. The theme is for us reinventing skilling India. Just one or two lines on that the theme itself focuses that we were never devoid of skills. If you have an idea of Indus Valley civilization, start from there, the Mohenjo-daro civilization, they were on the top of the world if you compare it with the contemporaries. Be the drainage system, be the urban planning, be the granary system, it was on the top of the world. If we come in the medieval times, we find there are cities which are known for their artisans. So the point I want to bring home is that there is no lack of skill. There has never been lack of skills. I used to play carom board, and once I had to participate, represent my university in inter-university championship. Despite being one of the best players, I failed there terribly because I used to play well, but I was not knowing the rules of the game. That what faults I am committing while hitting the balls. So, skill is there, the need is to chisel it, to make it worth packaging, presenting. Skill has been already there. And like Mr. Yohani said, that we should not copy any country. Rather, if we find that our own, we have unique talent in some fields. I'll give you one example only. The entire Western world is, searching for spiritual succor. And we have the finest of the yoga and spiritual trainers. The only thing is that what they are doing on their own. There is no established norms for certification, standardization, and marketing. We need to plug these gaps. And lastly, I will conclude by one Chinese proverb which says that best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. So I am very positive about what has been started in India. At least there is a buzz, everybody will agree. And we are such a huge country that it will certainly take time to trickle down the impact up to this level, up to our level. So we need to be very positive and optimistic. At least something is happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan, for that very positive note. It is true that there is a buzz. It's true that things are happening. We're a 10,000-year-old civilization, as you mentioned. Things tend to move a little slowly, but very surely. Final comment from you, Mrs. Kamna Rajagabra.
Just to add to what you said, Mr. Khan, we have what you call skilling abilities. We need to create social inclusion and social respect. Till the time we don't revere or appreciate or treat people with entrepreneurial and with skills, with basic skills, with great respect. Some of it will come when it gets well paid, as it's happening in Finland, and now because it's well paid, people give it respect. But in India we exclude it, we demean it, and we need to have processes in place. I have two suggestions. One, when we were kids we had a moral science class, which has gone. It didn't teach us religion, it taught us values and value systems.
Now it's money science.
Yeah, could that course please be included back into our schools, where we say everybody is nice, everybody is good, a guy who works with his hand is far more worthy than a guy who sits in office. And if this thought seeps in from when you're 5-year-old, it will have an impact. Secondly, we have these projects in colleges. I think it should be compulsory that we have a social project for 3 months, and no child passes college till he doesn't spend 3 months in the village, working with the village guy, working with a guy who does a basic skill and comes out with a project for which he gets an added advantage and a great marking. And this, I think, will be counted when they get jobs, because if I have to employ somebody who has done social work and who has come out with a great project, I would put him way above anybody else. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Agarwal. I take it that there are no comments or questions from the group assembled here. There is a question. All right, so very quickly. There are two then. We just take two. Do we have a microphone? Or they can yell? Oh, there it is already. Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Sir, I was
Sir,
listening
30 seconds each because we have to conclude very quickly.
I have one two simple observations.
Sir.
What Madam Agarwal spoke about the industry need and the academia is producing. Likewise, by working with them for a couple of time, he has been able to convert them into becoming the top exporters of the Afghanistan, who have got offices now in US and Germany. And he says if anything can be changed in Afghanistan, it is possible to change anything in the world. So based on his working and based on the unemployment issue, which Your Excellency you also raised when you started the discussion, one of the recent survey conducted by Associated Chamber of Commerce and Industry says India is producing almost 3.5 lakh management graduates and 1 million graduate engineers. And unfortunate part is only 20% of the graduate engineers and management postgraduates are employable. So what he practiced in Afghanistan, can we link up something as part of Make in India and reskilling India and make our youth become employable?
Thank you very much for your very perceptive comment. It is true what you
5 years, I have a 50 years experience in the field of education. I just want to raise a very, very important question. What you say, what you plan there in the ivory tower, right, that is not coming down. And as far as you see the training program or the Skill India, you see what is happening. Our affiliation with the university system is totally failure. You see the syllabi, they are being framed by the university and the college or the university. You see, we have to follow the rules and the regulations of the university. Whatsoever the university frame the curriculum, that we have to teach. And there is 0% autonomy in the colleges. You see, you say that in Ahmedabad you did this, right, you had the 4 experts and then you did that exercise. But as far as your affiliation system is there in this country, I don't think that we will be able to do something very amazing. So we have to abolish the system of the affiliation and let the autonomy be given to the institutions. And moreover, the institution, they should also be community based. You see, what is the need of the community? Accordingly, the institution we are to frame the syllabi, right? And then we can have the students. And another thing which I would like to focus here is that in most of the countries, you see, I visited about many countries of the world, and what I have observed there, that we are talking about the 5th semester or the 8th semester's training program, I may tell you, as far as the training program is concerned, is totally failure in most of the institutions. And in most of the institutions of the country, the teachers or the managements, they don't take so much pains because the institutions are being opened by the corporate people. They are interested in building the money, right? And you people are planning, you see so many things, you see at the higher level while sitting there with the Prime Minister, but what about, you see what is happening there? You just take the case of the NEET. What is happening to the NEET? You see, totally the different types of the things are coming. So there should be a community-based courses, right? And then there should be autonomy to the institutions and affiliation system as far as is concerned. It should be totally abolished. Only then we will be able, there is no dearth of the skill here in India. Our youth is bubbling with the energy. They are ready to do anything, any sacrifice for the country. But the question is our own system. You see, as in the labor laws, Prime Minister says that 1300, you see the labor laws that has been changed. Why not you are coming in the education side? You say abolish all those old systems which are here for the last 60 years, 70 or 100 years ago. And still you see we are going on the same lines. So my earnest appeal to you is that kindly take necessary steps at the lower level.
Thank you very much, sir. What I've been promised is if we take half the time, we'll get twice the amount of food. So we may as well conclude as quickly as possible. Sir, could you introduce yourself, sir? Identify yourself, sir. We can't.
Already been covered by Professor Dev. Okay, Make in India, it was already happening also. You also mentioned it. Okay, maybe it's something new, but the parameters are different now. And he also mentioned that, okay, whatever technology is available, components or anything is available, assemble it, that is what we are doing in Make in India. As you mentioned that so many mobile smartphones were fabricated. Maybe the components they were taken from here and there, it is a global village we are working as. Is it not possible to have like Make in India, develop in India? Like maybe the fruits of this will come later on, maybe 10 years down the line or 20 years, because that is a long process, developing a new thing for parallelism. So then, maybe then, when we reach to that point, then Make in India and Develop in India join together and we have a total integrated thing.
Thank you very much for your comment. We have to develop this country. I conclude I've been doing quizzes on Doordarshan for 1,000 years. But how many of us here, please raise your hands because Jagat Shah started the trend. How many of you think the government is on the right track in terms of skilling India? Well, I think those hands that have gone up win hands down. The hands that have gone up. Thank you very much. I wish to thank...
Excuse me, sir.
Oh, there's one more question?
Yeah. PhD holder cannot find a job according to his or her profession in Tunisia. Same kind of things are happening, can be happening in India. The situation is like if you are graduate, if you cannot find a job, then you go for the post-graduation. In the post-graduation, after passing the post-graduation, you cannot find the job. You will you will go for the PhD. So these kind of things are happening in India. After PhD, some candidates are applying for the PhD job. So do we need to reframe our curriculum, sir? Is this my question?
Would you like to respond? So we have, would you be able to give it in about 3.5 nanoseconds?
Yes.
All right, go right.
See, my dear friend, I earlier also mentioned that unless, like Deepak Bora Saab posed me a question regarding rush for being constable, and my answer was that unless we make the, simply taking degrees less, incentive, less fruitful than holding taking trainings in ITIs and holding and getting a diplomas. That is the practical knowledge of actually producing something or doing something. And this is happening now. So this is, I would say that go as far as you can go and you can see further from there. Go as far as you can see and you will see further from there. So it will take time again and it's happening.
Thank you very much, Khansa, for your comment.
Just one point to make, and I think Mr. Shah will be taking my point further, that in academia, the entry of persons from industry is completely closed. If you have an industrial background, all the universities, national level, IITs, NITs, gates are shut. You need to have academic background, PhD, to get entry into faculty for those institutes. So we have to take industrial people, if they want to be faculty, a regular faculty, then you should have something to be considered. And one more request to Mr. Munjal, that the system that we have of 6 months training, please train our students as your CSR. Make them work with skilled laborers for 6 months on the wages that skilled labor is getting. And our students, first they will come out of mindset of white collar job, and then they will learn. Please make it a part of CSR of industry, that our students get training for 6 months in your industry.
Thank you very much. The point is...
Vice Chancellor Dr. Rajneesh Arora, we finalized that I should get students seamlessly. That means 15 days before the previous batch goes, the next comes in. I trained 55 of them in each semester at that time, gave them stipend, and I put them to work between a manager and a supervisor, and put them to work on the job. And this interview takes place every quarter, every semester in Guru Nanak Engineering College, from where we select students and bring them. This is happening.
That IT plus IT is equal to IT, that India today plus information technology is India tomorrow. And we are talking all about Make in India, Skill India, means making India basically on the map. And Mr. Khan and Mrs. Agarwal also said that we need to reskill. We already have that thing in us. But one thing which has been degrading in all these years is the feeling of patriotism. And I think if that is lacking, then everything has no use. So it's my humble request to Mr. Shah that what is happening in India, like the JNU issue and the NIT issue in Kashmir. And the HRD minister took a very good step of hoisting the national flag, and I guess it should be made compulsory all over India. And
Thank you, ma'am. We've got your point that this idea of inculcating. Where I conclude with this little, actually true story. When I was ambassador in Armenia, told to me by the president of Armenia, that there is this Armenian shepherd going with 350 sheep, and a big Hummer vehicle with all kinds of antenna on top pulls up. And the fellow gets out in a tuxedo and says, I'm going to give you 2 pieces of information and I'll take 1 sheep in return. So the shepherd nods. And then he asks him, you don't know how many sheep you have? And then out comes his computer and goes, zoom, and he says, you have 324 sheep. And the shepherd claps his hand. And then he says, do you know what the average fat content of your sheep is? And the shepherd again shakes his hand and goes, zoom, and he says, it's 22.2%. And then he picks up an animal, puts it in his car. The shepherd asks him, are you from USAID? So this fellow says, how do you know? He said, first you ask me a question, I know the answer, I count my sheep every day, 324. Then you give me a piece of information about the fat content of my sheep, which is totally irrelevant to me because I don't cut the sheep, I sell them whole. But how I knew that you are from USAID? The animal you've put in your car is a dog, not a sheep.